In this video, how to construct your own deadlift platform.
And this is the finished product. So as far as tools that we will need and materials, first and foremost we need to start with PPE, that is personal protective equipment. First tool is going to be safety glasses, which I actually didn't use, but I feel obligated to say that you probably should use them, so do as I say, not as I do. Second is going to be gloves. I like to use these for handling wood so I don't get splinters. And then these gloves are going to be for staining. These are just normal latex gloves. And the last piece of personal equipment that you will need is one of these, because I don't even need to explain that right now. Next is a saw. We use a circular saw. If you have a miter saw, that's even better, but this is all we have, so it worked just fine. Next is some wood glue. By the way, I was looking for wood glue and I couldn't find any wood glue because it doesn't say wood glue on it. It says glue all, but it's wood glue if you read the description. You're gonna need paint brushes. The small one's gonna be for painting your logo if you decide to use a logo. The big one's gonna be for the varnish. And then this is the varnish. This is what's gonna go on last. This is the stain, and you want a rag to apply the stain. I like to use that instead of a paintbrush. And then you're going to use some black paint for the logo. You're going to need a drill and some drill bits. You want your drill bit to be just bigger than that's about how big it should be in relation to the screw. You should be able to see the threads on the outside of the screw. You're going to want some painter's tape. You're going to want some 1 1/4" screws number 6. That works perfect for what we use. You're going to need washers because when you screw down the horse stall mats, that's going to be something that holds the horse stall mats down, otherwise it'll just go right through them. You're going to need a tape measure. You're going to need a knife. If you have a utility knife, great. We don't really have a utility knife except a couple of them that aren't very good, so this is just a Leatherman and works great. A knife sharpener is also helpful. You're going to need some music to listen to. We like the Doors, so this is the Doors live from 1970. Amazing album. And then the rest of the materials that we used are 3 4x8 sheets of plywood. And so that goes on the top, and then underneath it there's another 4x4 sheet and then 2 4x8 sheets on the bottom. So basically you're going to need 3 4x8 sheets, and you're going to need to have one of them cut in half. Home Depot will do that for you for free. And then you're going to want 2 4x6 3/4 inch thick horse stall mats. 4x6 is just the standard size that they come in, but 2 of those mats will give you the material that you need because we have 2 thick on each side. Next you're going to want some 2x4. So the 2x4s are going to be used for the frame around the edges. I think it gives it some more aesthetic appeal. You know, if it's something where it's a home gym, it just makes it look nicer. And then that leads me to the handles, which are on the side because sometimes we like to pick it up and then go outside so that we can do deadlifts outside. And the last material that you will need, this is very, very important, probably the most important, and that is a supportive spouse. This is our first trip to Home Depot, getting our plywood, and they will usually cut your plywood in half for you, which is really nice. It's one less thing you have to do at home. And sometimes they even have a rental truck service. This is like 20 or 30 bucks for us to do that. I know what you're thinking right now. Yes, if you are on contest prep, this can be cardio. Just track your heart rate while you're doing this. It looked like so few sheets of material and so few pieces of material when it was on paper. But now, after going to Home Depot and getting everything, it was a lot more than we thought.
Step 1, glue the plywood.
You want to glue it together so that way it's not like slamming together every time that you drop the weights on it. It's just going to create more overall stability to it. I'm going at it with a hammer to make sure I get all the edges just perfect, because if I don't, it will annoy me.
Was that a beer?
No, it was not a beer. That was a water.
Step 2, drill holes and screw.
You want to make sure that you drill holes before you put the screws in. This is a rookie mistake if you don't do this, because it's gonna really mess up your boards and it's gonna cause it to crack. So definitely you want to drill holes first. It's always tempting to want to skip that step, but drilling the holes is very, very important. If I could do this part over again, I probably would have had it up on a workbench.
Hydrate. Step 2.5. Step 3, align 4x4 plywood.
I'm just measuring 4 feet from the outside of the 8 feet sheets, and then 2 feet from the outside of the 4 feet sheets. Take a good look at the 4x4 sheets too, so that you can have the best looking sheet on top, the one that has the least amount of knots in it, the one that looks the best. It's the only piece of the plywood that you're actually going to see too. And you don't want to slack off on your quality of the plywood either.
Step 4, glue 4x4 in middle.
You want to make sure that it's all high quality, because you definitely get what you pay for when it comes to the plywood. You don't want to use OSB or anything, because if you use board that's cheap and that's warped, it's going to make noise every time you drop weights on it. And that will wake up your kids when they're trying to nap.
Drilling more holes for the screws.
Lots of drilling.
Because step 5 is drill holes and screw.
If you weren't good at drilling holes and putting in screws before this process, you will be very good by the time that you're done.
Drinking some more beer.
Yeah, want to sweep all that sawdust off too. I don't know if it's technically called sawdust because it's not from a saw, but you get little particles of wood that come up from drilling the holes that you don't want in there, because any little bit of space is going to make noise when you drop weights on it.
Step 6, repeat steps 4 and 5.
Why is that funny?
I don't know, because it's just drill holes and screw.
Well, I didn't want to say it all over again. I think it was the end of the day too, and I typed that. I didn't want to type it all out. And that wraps up the plywood.
Step 6.5. Flex. And an outfit change. Step 7, cut horse stall mats. These are thick.
Yeah, you want to use horse stall mats instead of actual gym flooring, because it'll be way less expensive and it's literally the same thing. You can use whatever knife you want. You can use a box cutter knife. I was just using a Leatherman and it worked fine. I mean, I definitely got a good forearm workout by doing it. Something that helped was sharpening it in between cutting the mats.
Step 8, screw down mats. Step 9, screw in studs.
So a stud is just an 8-foot 2x4. They're called studs because they're wall studs. Those are what go in walls every 16 inches, I think. So these ones we were able to find some pretty nice ones at Home Depot, and they're really cheap too. They're only $2.84 each, I think. And so it just adds a nice aesthetic look to the outsides of it.
Step 10, paint your logo. Optional.
And I wanted to make our PNW Paleo logo, which is basically a silhouette of me flexing with a giant knife and a giant fork, but Taylor pointed out that would be much more difficult than we thought it would. And this was
This is difficult
Yeah,
enough.
this was hard enough.
It turned out good though.
You can see what we're doing here.
Step 11, mandatory. Make some gains, bro.